Hello and welcome to the Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software. And I'd like to welcome you guys to October, guys and gals and people. Today we have got a couple things I'd like to announce that we're doing right at the beginning of the month. One you've probably already seen the email announcement for, but we are having Alpha Software Developers Day. This will be in lieu of our conference. The Alpha Software Developers Day, if you want to sign up for it, you could do so right from the Alpha Software website. Just go to Alpha Software, go to Learn, go down to Developers Day, and there's a big registration button. The Developers Day is a free event, and we will be covering the additions that we've made to Alpha Anywhere and Alpha TransForm over the past year, as well as what's coming up on our roadmap. We'll be showing you some tips and tricks. We'll be having some breakout rooms with our developers. So if you have specific technical questions that you'd really like to get answered, we can put you in touch with the right folks. So I think it's going to be a terrific day, November 9th. It's going to be on a Thursday. So like I said, free of charge, go ahead and register now if you haven't already done so. Also like to just check out, something I always used to check is just to make sure that my sound is coming through and stuff like that. So, and that you could see my screen and that it says, join us for the premiere event. So if someone could just let me know real quick by typing into the questions box that you can hear my voice. All right, all good, super, thanks very much. The other announcement that we'd like to make is, and this will be coming soon to an email near you, we have announced that Alpha TransForm is now available on what we call a free tier. Now, unlike Amazon Web Services, this is a free forever tier. So this is an account that you can use, an Alpha TransForm account, a limited use account, but you can use it really for small, you can use it for business uses, you can use it for personal use, doesn't matter to us. It's just for, it's for small volumes. But today we're gonna be taking a look at Alpha TransForm and showing you what you can do with this cool, free, neat account. We'll be giving you some ideas, and I'm sure you'll probably be coming up with some ideas of your own. So as a refresher, for those of you who have never known about Alpha TransForm, because it's been several months since I think I've spoken about it, Alpha TransForm is I'd call it it's a data collection system. It's an application building system. It's a forms product. It's kind of a bunch of different things. But think of it as a way to design forms that people out in the field can fill out, and they can have a tremendous amount of help filling out those fields, because buried into those fields you can add some sophisticated logic that lets you do things like error checking, logic that lets you look up database values, for example, logic that maybe even calling out to other APIs and other services. And while you can do all of that with Alpha Anywhere, and in fact Alpha TransForm happens to have been built in Alpha Anywhere, this makes it much, much easier for a lot of the common tasks that people end up using Alpha Anywhere for. So this is the reason we had created Alpha TransForm in the first place. And it is now being used, I'm happy to say, by a lot of big brand names. So companies that you have heard of are now using them, especially in the field of quality control. And so let me just move on to my next slide here. So quality control and field service were two of the big uses. So imagine you have someone who's out on the field. Typically, in the past, they've been walking around with a clipboard, a paper clipboard. They're taking notes on something. And the problem with taking notes on paper, of course, is that at the end of the day, that paper needs to be submitted. Are we not getting slides? I'm sorry. Is this still not happening? Let me go back to sharing. No. Let's try it again. There we go. Hang on. Do you guys see a light bulb? See it. Fantastic. All right. So this was my little introduction slides, just so you don't miss it. This is Alpha TransForm. Actually, this is an old picture of Alpha TransForm. The interface has changed a little bit since I've done this slide, and I'll be showing you the real interface later on today. So if you can imagine, you have a field service person out in the field, typically with a piece of paper and a clipboard taking notes. At the end of the day, that person has to go back into an office someplace where they need to key these notes in. They'll probably go into a database, or maybe they'll go into a file cabinet where none of the data can actually be analyzed. There's a whole bunch of problems with paper, not the least of which is it needs to be dropped off. Sometimes handwriting is illegible, and it's not great for doing statistical analysis and spotting trends until you've done some data entry. And data entry, of course, is time consuming and it is error prone. So this is this is something that we wanted to do, is have a very simple product that could replace paper forms out in the field, but could give someone a huge head start in doing so. So if you can imagine this person who's servicing this high voltage panel, for example, needed to look up certain specifications or schematics that were not available right there at the site, he could have that built right into the form that he is using, be able to do that. And I've showed that in other webinars before. In fact, we have quite a few TransForm webinars. If you go to YouTube, we have a TransForm Tuesday webinar series that you can take a look at. So imagine, though, that we're going to work on a smaller project. Some smaller projects that were still business related might be an incident report. So every once in a while, there might be, unfortunately, an accident in the workplace. Someone slips, they get hurt, something like that. Doesn't happen every day, but Alpha TransForm is terrific as an incident reporting software. You can make note as to what happened. You can take pictures. You can send it in. It can automatically generate emails. It could also be used as a project punch list, really for anything. If you're doing home construction or you're building on a business or any kind of project you can imagine, you could build out using Alpha TransForm. And here are just some of the other ideas that we have that people have done. People have used it for building team rosters, for example, garden planners. It's also a great system for building on invoicing as well. So there's really an awful lot that you can do with TransForm, and an awful lot that you'll be able to do with your free tier. So I'm going to go pop down, and we're going to take a look at one of the forms that I filled out or just built for fun yesterday. It's a team roster form. So if you're new to TransForm, this is the interface here, and you'll notice the interface has got these 5 tabs up at the top. This is the designer tab, and this is where you create the designs for the forms that are going to appear on the form. The designer tab has got sort of 2 views to it. One is this view which shows you all the forms you've already created and which ones you've selected. And actually this is kind of a bad screenshot because the one I've selected is actually down here and you can't see it, but it's called Team Roster. And then the other version of this designer tab is the one which actually has got the fields in it. So these are the first name, the last name, and so on are all listed out here. And now this is just a rough preview of what you're getting. It's very handy when you're building it out just to make sure you haven't missed anything. But let's take a look and see what it would actually look like as a real form. So here's a real form that's been filled out. And this is a really simple team roster form. We've got a photo of the team member along with their name, their contact information. In this case, it would be their parent because it's like for Little League or something like that. And then for this person, you can make notes about attendance, fees due, details, and anything else you'd like. And then you can also just add another member here to this form. So this form can actually take multiple entries. So if you wanted to put 30 people on your team, you could put 30 people on your team all in one form. So let's go back, and there might be reasons for doing them as separate forms, but in many cases, it's helpful to do one form to collect lots of information together in what we call a data group. Another example was one that we did for bird watching, and this is a made-up example, but we did have a real example, actually 2 real examples, but one where people were using Alpha TransForm to keep track, to count fish, basically spawning a fish. As they swam upriver, it was basically a census of fish so that they know how healthy the population is. They had volunteer scientists who would go out and they would just use basically Alpha Anywhere as their fish counter. And that's just something you could do. It's great for just going out and doing some observations. So here I decided to build a bird watch form, and let me show you what that looks like. I sort of imagine this one on a tablet, although it could be done on a form, and I kind of laid it out for a tablet. So if you take a look at this, it's got a bunch of fields on here. It's got a date and time field, which can automatically be captured by the device just by tapping a button. It's got a GPS and map capture, which also just with the tap of a button can log the location. You can use this sort of single select button for selecting what the weather is that day, and multi-select buttons for example, for this wing shape field. We're just trying to describe what the bird is supposed to look like. Now I don't have, this isn't live, I'll show it to you live in a second, but below here, there's actually an audio field where we have collected the sound of the bird chirping, so you can play it back. And so that's just an example of something you might want to do as a bird watch. And this is sort of as a one form per bird sort of thing, but you may restructure it so that if you're out there looking, if you're out there saying, oh, I want to record every bird I see on Saturday in my form so that I can go back day by day, that might be another way of structuring it as well. All right, so that is that. Let's go take a look at TransForm. Voila, excellent. Let me go ahead and do that full screen. All right, so this is Alpha TransForm Live, and we are taking a look back at the birdwatch screen. But now I'm going to take a step even further back. For those of you who are brand new to TransForm, who have just signed up, what will you see when you log in? You're going to see something that looks like this. I can click the Home tab here for a second, and I'm going to actually refresh so that it's a little bit more accurate. When you log in, you are going to see the Home tab and kind of a blank screen here. Now, if you already have an Alpha TransForm account, a trial account, for example, that has expired, and I imagine many of you joining us here today do have such a thing, the next time you log into TransForm, we will automatically upgrade you to the free plan. And the free plan will allow you to submit up to 35 forms in a month, and you can have up to 3 users sharing your account if you like. There's no limit to the number of forms, though, that you can design, and we haven't really placed any other limits on the account besides that. So when you log in, the first thing you'll see is that, oh, I've got a free plan. And the next thing you'll see is that when my session times out, sometimes this confuses people because they think, oh, my account is going to expire, as in I need to sign up again or re-register. No, that just means that's the number of hours you have left until you'll be automatically logged out by the system. And that's something I always want to point out the first time that you log into Alpha TransForm. Over here on the left, think of the Home tab as the settings screen. And I can envision in the future, actually, that we're going to change this so it's going to hang out underneath that icon there. But for now, the Home tab is the settings screen, and it's where you can change various settings. Let me show you the ones that you're actually going to need to know right off the bat, and we can kind of just skip over, or I'll quickly explain the other ones, just because I realize that your time is precious. Okay, so starting up here, you see my name. Okay, that is set over here in my display name. So if I clicked on display name, you can type in whatever name I want, and it would appear there. Underneath my name is my account name, and I find that actually here under account settings. And that's kind of an important distinction, because you are not your account. You are you, and you have a name, and your account is your account, and it has a name. And in fact, there's nothing stopping you from creating another account if you like. You can create multiple accounts, and you can create multiple free tier accounts too if you would like to do that. Okay, when it's time to upgrade, let's assume though you're getting a lot of use out of Alpha TransForm, and you're like, wow, it's time that I'm going to upgrade. I need more form instances. Maybe I want some other things going on. You can do that by putting in a license key right here. So you would tap on license key. My license key happens to have expired. I'm going to click this button. It's going to show me a quick. I think I usually, okay. Mine happens to have expired, so I've been put back onto the free plan. I guess I'll have to talk to sales. Then we have a couple other things that you may want to change. Change preferences. Actually, you probably don't even want to change that one. The only thing that you might want to do is you might want to add another user to your account. And you can do that just by going into add users to account. You put in their email address, you click add users. They'll receive an email with their invitation. If they accept the invitation, then they can become a member of your account and they can log in. And then the last thing that I want to point out here is manage user roles. And if you have multiple people in the account, you may not want to give them all the same permissions. So for example, you might want to have someone who is the account administrator, who can do everything, who can look at all data, who can create forms, delete forms, and so on. But you might also want to have just a user who may only be able to, for example, create and delete forms. So you have different permissions that you can use there. That gets set up here in the permissions area. Okay, that's all you need to know. Despite all of these things here, let me just quickly tell you what the other ones are, just so you know. But these are pretty much the ones you need to know right off the bat. So account usage shows you how much usage you have had this month. That really applies if you're in the free tier like me. Look, I've only submitted 3 of my 30 forms. Good to know. License keys, that showed you that's where you upgrade your accounts. Create a new account. If you want to create a new account, just click there. Change preferences has to do with email settings. User management, you can add people to your account, like I just said. Manage user roles gives them the different permissions they're allowed to use. For developers, you might find this interesting. There is a really powerful API that's available even in the free tier version, and you can get an API key here. So there's documentation about that. Actually, when you go and where would you find documentation? You'd find documentation at up here in help and go down to the API key. Okay, define on-device assets, sort of an interesting feature where you can have files such as, well, movie files, PDFs, images, documents, blueprints, anything that get downloaded onto the user's device while they're using it. The reason the on-device assets are so useful is that if someone has downloaded those things, they can go into an area where they have no cell signal or no connection, and they can go ahead and access those. So they might, for example, be looking up a user's guide or a repair manual on a particular piece of equipment. You can tack that along with a form and have that be brought along with them into the field. Dispatch forms lets you take a bunch of, basically create an Excel spreadsheet of forms and upload them all at once into the system. Release notes is release notes. Videos is a new section. I've created 5 new videos here recently, which I think are worth taking a look at, although a lot of it you're going to see today, that just basically go over what the different tabs do and how they work. Okay, so the next tab that you're going to see here is Dashboard. Dashboard basically takes the data that you have already collected and presents it to you in a meaningful way so that you can analyze that data. You can have multiple dashboards, and in fact, in this case, I have a dashboard for a worksheet that I set up called the Farmer's Worksheet, and it was to keep track of people who worked at a farming cooperative. So this, for example, showed me who the workers were for that period of time, what they did during that time, whether it was watering or weeding or whatever, and how many hours each of them had spent. And each of them have drill down capabilities. So for example, if I had said, show me all the people who were doing watering, I could click on the little watering pie wedge there in the pie chart, and I could click on a particular record, and I could say, oh, Barry Barrows was out there watering. It's part of his work log here. If I scroll down, there it was here on April. All right, so let's go back here, and this time we're going to take a look now at our next tab, which is the designer. Actually, let me show you one more thing about the dashboard. The dashboard, when you first open it up, you're not going to see something like this. You're going to see a default dashboard, and you can choose your dashboard using this little down arrow right here. And by default, the one you're going to see is the account usage dashboard. I'll go ahead and choose that one. And the account usage dashboard is, in a second, basically just shows you what you've done. You know, I've submitted 1 form of this type called the roster form and 2 birdwatching forms, or actually the other way around, 2 roster forms and 1 birdwatching form. And if I wanted to see that particular form again, I could click on it and take a look at it. So let's take a look at the birdwatching one, for example. And now you'll see that the view has changed here, but it's still in the dashboard tab. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. And there is my bird watching form. And in fact, I don't have audio set up so that if I play my computer audio, you can hear it. But if I click that, I will hear audio. So just trust me on that. So that is dashboard. But really the first thing you're going to do, because you don't have any forms when you first sign up for your account, is you're going to go into the designer tab. So let's pop over to designer, and I'm going to show you how that works. By the way, we've made some, in beta right now, made some great speed improvements in switching from tab to tab. So I think you'll appreciate that when that rolls out in the next couple of weeks. So to create a new form type, your list of form types here is going to be blank. But to create a new form type, you would hit the plus button right here, and you would say add blank or select template. If you choose select template, then it's going to give you a collection of pre-made forms that you can use in a variety of different industries and for other reasons, including a punch list form, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to cancel out of here. And the other thing you can do is you can create a blank form, which I'm going to do right now. When you create a blank form, you'll see a bunch of stuff appear on the screen. And I think of this screen sort of as sort of one view of the designer tab. So this is the view where you basically see general information about the form. And when you first create a form, this is the form that you're going to do. Let's call this the webinar form. Webinar. Now you can, at this point, you're all set and ready to start adding fields to your form. You'll see that I've got a blank preview window here. And there are a couple ways you can do that. The way I almost always prefer to start is using this input quick start text. Because when I do that, it gives me this blank slate that I can just basically paste in a list of fields if I want to. Let me just hit input quick start text again. Whoop, there we go. Or I could type a bunch of things. So if I said first name, last name, email, phone. All right. I would have actually a form already built. In fact, I could save this, upload it, and that would be ready to use. It would just collect text fields, but that's all it would need to collect. That's all I need for this form. But you'll notice that we have a lot of other different field types available from this list. And in fact, we have more field types even than that, and I'll show you how you get to those. So let's say I wanted to start this out. So I usually start them out first by listing a whole bunch of fields that I know that I'm going to add. Now I can always add and delete and rearrange fields later, so that's really no big deal. So let's say amount owed was another field. But this time, we didn't want it to be a text field. We want it to be a number field, so I can add in numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to change this, whoops, amount owed into a number field. So you'll see that's marked as numbers. And when I go ahead and fill this out on a device, I'm going to have a number pad keyboard that comes up as opposed to the full keyboard, which will make it a lot easier. So that's just a real simple way to get started. Once you've gotten started, though, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And we're back to this sort of original designer view. But if we go back into Edit Form Commands, you'll see that those fields that we just created, fields 1 through 5, first name, last name, email, phone, and amount owed, are now here in this list. And I can do all kinds of interesting things here. I can add them, I can rearrange them, and I can add additional fields as well. So here are all the field types, basically, that you can add, and there are an awful lot. So typed text we went over, and number kind of makes sense. Phone number is just a field that gives you a numeric keypad and a dash, so it's just a quicker way of entering phone numbers. You have signed integers and integers. We have currencies, which forces the 00 at the end of it. There's date, date time, time now, time countdown. That's kind of a cool one. It's a button where it will count down from a certain period of time and then stop. So if you've got a type of thing that you're counting, for example, you're counting fish swimming by a certain point every 5 minutes, you could have a button that starts a 5-minute timer for you. There's a stopwatch, which lets you know how long something took. Obviously, you can collect photos using the camera. You could do audio. You could do signatures. We don't do video yet, although that is on the roadmap. But we do audio and pictures. There is a scanner field, so you can look up barcodes and QR fields, and using the on-device data feature that I told you about a little bit earlier, you can actually look up stuff from a database into that. There's a location field, which will do a GPS capture from your device, very cool, and actually show you a map. There are different types of lists that you can do, and you can divide your form into groups and into sections just to make it easier to read. Now, these forms can hold, we've discovered recently, thousands of fields if you want to. There's literally no limit, no practical limit that we have found so far in terms of a field form design that you cannot replicate in Alpha TransForm. It will hold tons and tons of fields, and it'll hold fields in a variety of different ways. You can also break up your form up into sections, just another way to do that. Change status allows you to add a submit button to your form, which changes, and it also changes the status. Usually the status for any form is marked as, I think, open when it's first created, but you can have it changed to submitted. You can create your own statuses as well. That's actually kind of a cool little thing. You have this go to target. This lets you jump between places on a form, which is really neat. We have ifs, elfs, and end ifs. These are used a lot when people are creating a question that sometimes has sub-questions. So for example, it could say, have you tested positive for COVID, for example? And if you say yes, it'd say, okay, how long ago did you test positive for COVID? You might have a follow-up question or something like that. Sorry, COVID's on my mind. We've had a few people here who've got it recently. I guess it's going back around. Then we have this section here, the data group start and end. And this is great. This lets you create a repeating set of fields that you can enter in over and over again. And if you remember back to my baseball example, or sorry, my roster example, in fact, let's go find that. That's exactly what I did. Roster, team roster. Oh, it's with a T. There we go. So what I did was I enclosed everything in a data group. So I'm actually going to remove that data group, which consists of these two tags here. And at this point, I have a team roster that lets me enter information just for one person, right? So the neat thing about data groups is when you have a data group, you can select your fields here, click plus, and say enclose in a data group. Bang. Now, because I'm in a data group, I can keep adding new and new items to the data group. Now, I don't like the default message, add a new item to group one. I would like to say add player. It's just friendlier. And so that's it just makes it a little bit nicer to see. The other fields are pretty self-explanatory, but some of them comes with different options. So for the photo field, for example, when we do photo resolution, by default, we make this small. And because many of the times that's really all you need to do. If you're taking a picture of a car, let's say, which has got a dent on it because you're reporting some sort of accident, small resolution is absolutely fine. But we found that there are people who are out in the field who are taking pictures of really small parts, or they're taking pictures of things that have got like serial numbers and stuff like that on equipment. And so you can put it to large or to original to capture a really, really high resolution image of it. These sections here are cool because they do allow you to draw on your forms. So in other words, if you want to permit that, so you could take a picture of something and then, for example, circle the area that you want to draw the user's attention to, or maybe draw a line into it or something like that. And then we have some other information here. Most of the fields have a help text field. So if you want to give some explanation as to what kind of photograph they should be taking, you could type that in, and that help text will appear with the form. A little I or a little information button will appear next to it that they can click on and see. So that's just taking you on a tour of these. The last one I want to show you is Management Console. I'm going to skip over permissions for now, because permissions is really just where you let people know what they're setting up and what they're not setting up. And we're going to go over here to, let's go to 5S Audix. I know I've got a bunch of those. So here are a whole bunch of forms that I've submitted of the same kind. It's got a whole bunch of things. One of them is a signature field. I don't know if I mentioned, but you can do signature fields as well. Now with these, I can actually export a group of these by checking all of them or checking the selected ones that I want. And I go over here and export my records, of which I've got various types that I can do. I'm allowed to, if I'm doing, say, a basic export, or is it form export, table export? Table export. If I'm doing a table style export, I can actually download that in Excel format as well. So that's a good thing to know. The form format is just basically as it appeared to the user on the screen, which is nice. Basic format is very basic. That's literally just all text version. There may be some reason why you would want to do that. Same with simple. And then the JSON version shows you what the JSON is like when it's stored there. Now, you as a person wouldn't be reading this JSON, but it is handy to have this JSON here in case you want to start writing your own API calls and you want to start playing around with some sample data. It's kind of good to see how it's structured, but you can take a look at here as well. So someone said, let me just get to the next question. When you're using the free tier, can I get a notification if I'm about to hit the 35 form limit? Right now, you only get a notification when you do hit the 35 form limit, but that is something that we are instrumenting quite quickly to let you know about the warning. When you do go over that limit, you will get a notification on the screen, and if you're the account owner, and not just a user of the system, you'll also get an email letting you know that that's happened. And by the way, just so you know, this works by calendared months, not by when you signed up. People ask that question all the time. So if you signed up at the end of the month, you still get 35. You still get the 35 for that month. All right. The other thing I want to show you today is I showed you at the beginning that, oh, there's kind of two pieces. There's the mobile app and then there's this TransForm Central. But there's in fact another piece that's pretty cool, which is the online web filler or TransForm filler. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. That's accessed by a slightly different URL, and I believe you actually log into it separately. And the reason for that is you might want to have people filling in forms who aren't on a phone, but who are on a computer. You don't want to give them access to this big management console. That's for you, the developer, the designer. So instead, we have a view that you could use here on your phone. It looks like I'm all logged in already. Cool. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and I could add a blank form once I've logged in. Add blank form, and then I can scroll down and see my list of forms that I have, and maybe we'll take a look at the bird watching one again. There's the bird watching one, and then I can enter in the date and time, set that to now. Weather is cloudy. No, it's a thunderstorm, we'll say. It was on a structure, and it's got wide, square wings. And just for fun, I did put in a gigantic list of birds. Let's choose a great gray owl. I'm not sure that's right for the feather type, but that's fine. And then if I wanted to, I can capture a picture. Now, there's certain things that you can only do on a phone. For example, we don't have access to GPS, although we're planning on adding that feature right now. So you can't add the location the way that you could on the phone. Right here's a location field. But you can do some of the other things. For example, you can capture an image. So I could say tap to capture image. And then I can choose from my hard drive, right? Or I can take a picture. And if I'm going to take a picture, I can just choose the webcam that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and use camera 1, which is probably me. Oh, hopefully I'm looking presentable today. Hey, everyone. And I can take this photo, bang. And, oh, I look surprised. That's okay. And now that that's done, I'm going to use this photo. And that's been uploaded, and now I could say, this is a very weird looking owl. All right, so now I have submitted my form and tap to record. This is only, oh, I don't know, I think this is only available on, yeah, this is only available on a phone. You can't yet do this on a browser, but it's something else that we're looking to add as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit close. Anyway, you didn't want to hear my imitation of an owl anyway. So now that that's all there, I can just simply upload that to the server. Sometimes takes a minute, especially when I'm doing a webinar. And while that's saving changes, no errors, great, it was uploaded just as we thought. I can go back into TransForm Central. And then I can go into the management console. I can take a look, or even to the dashboard too. Could have taken a look at it, seen it from there. And go back here, take a look at my birdwatch form. And it's all here. Now, if my form were missing because maybe the screen was up already, I can always hit this refresh button. That'll bring the latest batch of data down. So there's my form. There I am. I'm a great gray owl. And it's all been loaded in. So Alpha Anywhere has also got a very tight integration with, Alpha TransForm. Well, I guess they both do. Alpha TransForm has a very tight integration with Alpha Anywhere. There is tools in it for building out API calls using XBasic. You can create databases that can be used in Alpha TransForm. You can create SQLite databases, and there are some other things as well that you can do. You can also use Alpha TransForm, sorry, as a data source when you are working in a list control in a UX. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. And I hope that now that it is free for you guys to try it, that you guys will go out and give it a shot. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. Is I'm going to encourage you to go to transform.alphasoftware.com, create a new login with your existing credentials if you remember them. If you forgot your password, there's an option for that too. If you never had an account, go ahead and create it. And if your account is expired, you will be upgraded to the free account. And I suggest that go ahead and have fun and let us know what you build. So let's see, do we have any questions here today? I do see an Alpha Anywhere question, which is are we updating the pusher feature to comply with pusher's recently announced changes? I do not know off the top of my head, but I will certainly make a note of that right here on my notepad, and we'll get in touch with our VP of Mobility to make sure that we are staying on top of stuff. If you need to know sooner, then send an email to guides, GUIDES at alphasoftware.com. What is the URL for the online form filler? Well, in the next version, there'll be a real simple link to get there, but it is basically transform.alphasoftware.com/transform filler. And I think it can be just like that. I don't think you need to have the .a5w on it. Let's see. Nope, you need to have the A5w on it. God. I think there's an HTML version too, which logs. Nope, A5w. I think there's another one as well, so I want to see what's. So that's the one that I would use. Let's see. Someone said, oh, they tried going into transform.alphasoftware.com, nothing happened, but it worked out fine when they went in Chrome. Well, it definitely does work in Chrome, so I'm not sure what that is. Most of the developers are using that. So, okay, very nice. Oh, and hey, one of our folks, I'm going to use his name. Glenn has said, thoroughly recommend giving Transform a go. Thanks very much, Glenn. I appreciate that. I know that you've used it for quite a few projects yourself. So that's it for today. If anyone has further questions, go ahead and send them to guides, GUIDES at alphasoftware.com. In the meantime, I hope that you play with Transform and get some value out of it. Until I see you next week, take care and stay well. Bye-bye.